detective. Thrill me.
The Thrill Me podcast heads to Stallone Town again. Matty, Rambo, First Blood Part 2. Again, no Gibbo, no Jared, but of course they will be asked what their thoughts are on this film.
Definitely.
In our next episode. But before we get started on shooting a few people Rambo style, let's do a little bit up or down. The first one is the trailer for The Equalizer Part 2. Actually premiered yesterday or the day before. It's directed again by Antoine Fuqua and starring Denzel Washington.
Yep. Good pedigree right there.
Look, I'm an up. The first movie's not great, but to me, Denzel Washington is one of the only actors still who never phones it in.
Yep.
He never just fronts up and phones in shit.
He's got presence right there.
And it could be that he is phoning it in, but he's so charismatic and got so much screen presence that it never feels like it.
He's always a bit older though, isn't he?
He's old.
He's got some jowl action going on.
What is he? He must be late 50s.
Yeah, must be.
So this is kind of nearing the end of this type of action cycle, but he's such a good actor that he can give these roles, which are nothing roles, something.
Give him some life.
Yeah, and he did that in the first Equalizer.
Yep.
And the first Equalizer is a solid 3 out of 5.
Yep.
But the only reason it's a 3 out of 5 is because of Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
It's no different from 90% of those other revenge flicks that were floating around.
It looks like it could just be a movie that could stand alone, but they've put that title on it and put that actor in it.
And it's essentially, it's not going to really connect greatly to the first movie, bar the fact that it's the same character.
Yep.
So, a little bit like Taken, I'd suggest. And Taken's kind of got that similar pedigree, really top-notch actor, kind of slumming in action shit, but it turns out to be very profitable for him. So, but Denzel always gets there.
I did notice that he's going undercover as a Muslim, which I don't know if you're trying to keep people not looking at you in America, that that's the best way to go about it.
That may not be the best way to start things here. But I will give this an up because Denzel, I never miss his movies.
Yep.
He's always good.
Yeah.
And until he starts phoning stuff in, until he becomes Nicolas Cage, he's making direct-to-DVD films.
He's got such a good voice and an intonation when he talks.
Yeah.
You want to watch him.
Exactly. So it definitely, is it an up for you?
Yeah, it's a slight up. I think it's. I'm interested in it. I'm interested to see it. I'm not going to go out of my way to see it, but if it's there, I'll definitely go and check it out.
Okay. The other one was one that you pointed out. It's a Jim Carrey vehicle that I think, based on my research, may have been made in about 2016. I'm not 100% sure, but it's only recently getting a release in the US. And it's called Dark Crimes. And Carey seems to be playing, is it a Polish? Is it
he's got an
cop in Poland or something like that? It kind of looks interesting. I'm sort of on the fence on it, just because sometimes those sort of films, those dark sexual kind of crime films, bit of a struggle. Yeah. But I'm also interested to see Jim Carrey in that kind of role, because he's never really done that.
He's a police officer in it?
Yeah, he's like a detective.
Nothing to lose, right? So I think it looks like he'll put himself in some situations that maybe a different police officer wouldn't. Yeah. His beard game is on point.
Yes.
I can watch that for a couple of hours.
Bearded up to the max. Full grey beard.
But it looks like it's dark and it's got that mood about it. The music in the background seems like it's...
I'd suggest it's obviously an international sort of co-production. I think the director's Spanish or something like that. Yep. So it's going to probably have a different sensibility. No, not Sergio. No, he was busy. But it could be one of those ones that's, those sorts of things are a little bit hit and miss. Yeah. But I am interested to see Carey, because we haven't seen a lot of him recently.
Yeah. So he's definitely trying to shift a lot of his stuff to those the dramatic roles. Yeah. So this will be probably why, maybe that's why it's been a release date pushed back. But I'm interested to see how that goes.
And just before we get going again, there was some news just recently. This has warmed the cockles of Jared's heart, I believe. Steven Spielberg is allegedly going to possibly produce and direct a DC film called Black Hawk.
Yeah, which is a character that I have no idea about.
Never heard of, but this could be good. Now, DC's problem is they've been mired in the shit that is trying desperately to make Batman and Superman films be well received. Yeah. Unfortunately, they failed. Yeah. For the most part.
It's that formula, though, that Gibbo was talking about a couple of pods ago, where it's just like all of the characters you can pretty much transpose them into the next film, and they're all playing in the same role. Yeah. It's going to end the same way. We're going to have the same battles that are going on. Yeah. But it sounds like if you're going to get Spielberg, it's going to have a bit more of an adventure taste to it. So I'm really keen to see how that goes.
I'd like to see it from the sense of, like what Marvel did when they started, was took a less well-known property, which was Iron Man, and struck gold. It was a winner, massive, and that's what started. So maybe this is a good opportunity with, let's face it, probably the greatest director in film history, who knows his way around this type of adventure material. It could work out great. I think it's the best move they've made in years. Yeah. It all depends though if he follows through.
Yeah, that's right.
Because the only concern with someone like him is he'd probably have a schedule that'd just be packed to the absolute gills. It'd be really, really hard to find a time, and then after a while he goes, I have to drop out.
Yeah. Or if he just puts his name on it and somebody else does it.
Yeah, I'm just hoping he commits to it because it's something interesting.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break. Here's the trailer to 1985's Rambo, First Blood Part 2.
In First Blood, he fought for his life. This time, he's fighting for a lot more.
If winning means he has to die, he'll die. What you choose to call hell, he calls home.
Stallone is back as Rambo.
I'm coming to get you.
First Blood, Part 2.
Starts Wednesday at a theater near you. Consult your local listings.
Rambo, First Blood Part 2, directed by George P. Cosmatos, who had a lengthy ghost directing career with Tombstone and Cobra in his resume. I would suggest this was allegedly ghost directed by Sylvester Stallone, but
it's a good Greek name. I'm happy with that.
Produced by Buzz Fitzshans, who also produced Rambo 3 and Bruce Willis's dick in Colour of Night. Remember that? Good God. Avoid that one.
I'm going to go back for that, maybe.
The story was by Kevin Jarre, who wrote Tombstone, and the screenplay was by Sylvester Stallone and James Cameron. It stars Sylvester Stallone as Rambo, Richard Crenna as Troutman, Charles Napier as Marshall Murdoch, and Stephen Burkhoff as Podolsky. The budget was $44 million.
Yep.
And the box office was $300 million worldwide.
Whoa.
So not a bad little take.
It's a reason to make it, I guess.
Yep. It was actually the first film to appear in over 2,000 US cinemas. I am going to go first.
You go.
I've said this many times, okay, across the podcast. If you're going to mix action and politics, it's got to be a really good, solid script. And this is not it. I can tell you now. Because this film seems to have a political agenda, somewhat. I think it's primarily a popcorn movie, but there seems to be some political sort of stuff about Vietnam and things mixed in.
I feel like you got some double standards there. If you're willing to let it slide when it's a Van Damme movie, what go by the wayside if Van Damme's going to do an axe kick?
No, but Van Damme's not talking about POWs in Vietnam, no. And the problem here is that the action scenes work.
Yep.
Stallone / Cosmatos knows his way around an action sequence, but the rest of it is just crap. Sorry to say.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a bad taste after First Blood, because First Blood is really good.
That's such a solid movie.
And the ideas, again, First Blood takes some political stances on returning veterans, but does it well and does it without overdoing it. Whereas this one just goes off on the bloody it just goes off on a tangent and does all these silly things.
It's got a whole lot of extra villains in it that you don't necessarily need, and it's got a whole lot of plot devices in there that just bog it down.
Yes.
That it just like you could have made it a simpler movie that still has all the action in it, but not got to it in such a stupid way.
And Rambo goes from haunted veteran to Superman.
Yeah.
Like he's from minute one, he's like a superhuman.
As soon as he gets into the jungle, he's just like, oh, this is what I belong.
And I understand that's what I'm assuming that's what I'm trying to go for. I'm back on my home turf. This is where I operate. But it's just so ham-fisted. This is 2 out of 5 for me.
Two.
And you know what? I'm going to go right now. I have not seen Rambo 3 in a while. I think this is possibly the worst of the Rambo movies.
Okay. I haven't seen Rambo 3 yet.
Yeah, I've seen it, and I remember liking it more than this, but I haven't seen it for years, so I could be made wrong. But it's definitely worse than First Blood and Rambo, the one that came out in 2008.
Yep.
It's a toss-up between this and Rambo 3, but 2 out of 5. It's just really unfocused.
Yeah.
It's not a very good plot, which doesn't help.
Yeah, that's right. I guess I'm sitting... I can't go any higher or lower than I did for Leon. So I think I'm at a 2.5 for it. The action kept me entertained. I guess some of the ridiculousness of it that was a negative was also a positive, as happens with these 80s action flicks. So, but some of the action is hilarious, and I guess some of the attempt at developing character is also bloody funny.
Good God.
So I enjoyed it. Comparing it to First Blood was obviously a notch above easily.
Yeah.
So I sort of was a little bit disappointed, but I guess you can't have.
Well, what is First Blood? What sort of score does First Blood get from you?
Oh, this is probably a 4 for me.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it because it sort of makes sense. Him escaping from the jail where he's having these flashbacks and just the only explanation that you need for the way that he's acting is they drew First Blood. That's all you need. Yeah. And then you're like, no, he's just defending himself. Yeah. So it's interesting.
Whereas in this one he's on the offensive.
Yeah, in this one they're like, let's get a human killing machine and get him to take some photos. And you just and then from there it unravels into a convoluted plot of but the government doesn't really care about us and they're trying to set us up for failure and all this. It becomes a bit silly. But again, are you really going to see Rambo for the plot, or are you going to see it for his ripped abs and him shooting some arrows at people?
Well, the problem is it came after First Blood, which was that type of film, that it asks some questions of you. Yeah. That this one chooses to ask some stupid questions of you and add that to a much bigger body count, explosion count.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
But don't get me wrong, I love that stuff. I'm like you. Like, for the action portions, I was in there.
Yep.
But as soon as it cuts away from that and keeps... Every time it goes back to Troutman and the other bloke, I'm just like, this is crap. Let's just get out of here, get back into the jungle with Rambo.
Ridiculous. He's like this constant figure of...
But the other guy's even worse. Yeah. And it's not the acting, it's just that they're just stuck with these ridiculous... roles, he's just rambling on about, why they're doing this and that, and it's just... And we'll get to one of the worst parts of the film is his explanation for why they sent Rambo in there.
Yeah.
I'll get to it, but it just had me scratching my head, just go, who came up with this?
I didn't think too hard about it, obviously. I just let it go. I let it wash over me.
Okay, so the likes.
Oh, there's a fair few. The action
stuff is good. Like, there's really well choreographed, slickly directed, plenty of explosions.
Yeah.
A lot of gunplay, some helicopters are involved.
He chokes out a snake.
Yeah. Oh, man. But... And the mayhem and stuff gets you excited as an action fan.
Yeah.
I mean, the Russians blow up a cliff face. they drop like a nuclear warhead or something. You can't not love that if you're an action guy.
Full on, and him living through it is hilarious because he
certainly gets away
everywhere.
He gets away from some pretty big explosions, which he probably would have got swallowed up on. But again, whenever they go to the action, It works.
Yeah.
The movie works.
When he just puts on that rampage at the end of the film, and he's just like killing people out of nowhere. He's like covered in mud and just starts slitting throats. He's everywhere and he's nowhere.
That is the best sequence in the film.
So good.
Where he quietly takes that group of Russian blokes out, and he's in the mud and everything.
They never had a chance.
You just see his eyes, and he's leaping out of nowhere and
out of the water with a bow and arrow.
Yeah, that stuff is great. Like that harks back to First Blood where he does it in the forest.
Yeah.
But it's just it's taken up a slight notch, but it's really well done. Like they actually make it seem here's this guy with special forces skills.
Yeah.
Just doing exactly what you'd expect from someone like this.
Yep.
He's just taking these blokes out quietly. Yeah. Really, really works.
And he's just so comfortable. I guess you look at watching First Blood and it's so desperate. He's just trying to escape, I guess, the situation.
Right.
Here it's just seamless. There's no...
killing blokes left and right, just tossing them into the trees and moves on.
I'm going to shoot an arrow into your head. No worries. Whatever.
I had to laugh at the prison setup he's in.
Yep.
They seem to be cracking rocks on the chain gang. Like something out of the...
That's ridiculous, isn't it? That scene. We're going to call you over from your destroying rocks. So that was just silly, wasn't it? That was an excuse to get his shirt off, sure. Did he have his shirt off that point?
He had his shirt still on there. He was in a sweat. He was in leather, but he wasn't shirtless at that point. I mean, it was probably 3 buttons open at the top, but he's cracking rocks. It feels like the 1950s or something. There, like on a chain gang or something.
Yeah.
I had to laugh.
That awkward exchange at the begining as well, when they're having the conversation, is like, I did everything to get you out. Now I need you to do me a favour. That was pretty funny. Yeah,
I did everything I could to get you out. By the way, I need you to go back into Vietnam for me.
Yeah.
Oh, gee, thanks for that.
Just to take some photos.
The shootout on the boat, where they blow it up, he blows it up with a bazooka.
Good use of bazooka in this film.
I love the fact that, so how do you keep people away? Bazooka.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah. The beginning of that scene, though, he's fighting against the first guy.
Yeah.
He's reaching for his knife, and the first guy that he fights pulls out these 2 mini knives. No, he pulls out...
He pulls them out. Because when he's gearing up, we see him putting the 2 little mini knives in like a little belt. Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Yeah. Who would have expected that when you're only doing some wildlife photography, allegedly? It's a necessity for all that shit.
They're the dumbest looking knives I've ever seen.
But he throws them around, though. They're like sort of like ninja stars or something. Yeah. But I like that. I also like the escape through the rice paddies and all that.
I found that cannon shooting into the rice paddies ridiculous.
And they're going nowhere near the boat. I mean, he's hardly... There's no cover, mate. Yeah. But it's got plenty of explosions and it's got classic sort of Rambo sort of, Then we get the double cross. We throw the double cross in.
Yeah.
Come down and get me. No, we're not going to. Why did we go out there in the first place then?
They're like, what, you actually found him? Just leave him. But we can see him. Nah, we're done. Just leave him.
It's so silly. It's why you just would have said, listen, we're not going back for the guy. Yeah. He's fucking dead, mate.
Yeah.
No, but he's not. He's still alive. He's dead. End of story. He's not getting out of Vietnam.
But then there's that classic, he's Rambo. He's going to get out, and then he's going to come for you.
Yeah, well, when he rocks up, if he escapes through the vicious jungle and he avoids the Russian, soldiers and everything, and if he turns up on the doorstep, okay, well, I've probably got what's coming to me.
Yeah, that's right.
But we're not sending a helicopter. I mean, the fuel itself costs money.
Hijack a helicopter.
Come on. None of that. But I felt those sequences were okay, where they blew up the boat and the rice paddies and all that, running through the field and trying to get back on. It was pretty well done.
Yeah.
Again, coming back to the action stuff.
Yeah, I guess this is all sort of one of those things where it's a dislike, but it's also a like. In that scene with the boat, he manages to jump off just as the boat explodes, and then his girlfriend yells out, "You made it, Rambo!" Yeah. I was like, this is the cheesiest shit I've ever seen in my life. But it was hilarious.
Yeah, but again, was that sort of courting? Was that those two courting each other? Because that's how it sort of seems later on.
I think they based this relationship on the same way that they did Conan's in Conan the Barbarian. You've got a sword, I've got a sword.
Yeah. Oh, you've got weaponry? Oh, look, check this out.
You like to shoot people with machine guns? So do I. We'll be best friends. Yeah.
We've got so much in common.
You understand me.
But the electrocution torture and the hot knife to the face, nasty. I dug on that. I dug on it a lot because I'm thinking, that seems pretty harsh. They really needed to ramp it up. I mean, Rambo shows absolutely no effects of being electrocuted. I'd be there going, twitching and...
He's indestructible though, like you said earlier. But he turns.
I believe you can't electrocute muscle.
He turns into Bender from Breakfast Club. He's just like, "Fuck you."
That's right. Tell us what we want to know. Fuck you. All right, zap.
How do you like that, mate?
But it was nasty.
Yeah.
And I did like the hot knife. I reckon they should have used that a bit more. They should have actually killed the other bloke. It would have been quite nasty because it had been sort of sitting there in the hot coals for 5 minutes while that silly Russian...
Is that his knife?
Yeah. That silly Russian penis is just crapping on about, give us the details of what I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. Whatever, we'll just torture him for fun.
Yeah, like, I don't know, I don't really know what was going on. I'll tell you my last like, because all my likes were action related. That's all you got. I haven't got that many because to me, all the action scenes were likes.
Yeah.
So any time there was action, I was in. I love the fact that he levels an entire shanty town with rockets and minigun fire.
Yep.
But yet the POWs in their rickety wooden cage seem to avoid getting hit. I mean, he blows the place to shreds. He just ruins the joint.
His when he just goes nuts with the destruction. It is
cool. It is super cool.
It's baffling how his own guys.
I mean, surely there's 25% to 30% death there.
So many explosions within a really short period of time. There's just absolute utter destruction.
When he takes out those two trucks
with those arrows though. Surely they can't do that much damage with an arrow.
Has it got like a
nuclear
warhead on the end? It must be that they're explosive tipped and he hit the fuel tank or something.
Every single one.
Spot on, and then boom, that just goes up. But I still love all that shit because it's bombastically over the top.
Yeah, it is.
Like, it was the middle of the 80s.
Yeah.
So everything was getting bigger and bigger. You had to blow things up more.
I love that he wants the silent weapon as well with the bow and arrow.
Yeah.
He doesn't want the audacity of using a gun to kill people. He unless he steals it off someone. That's honourable. But bow and arrow.
It's honourable if he steals it off out of the lifeless hands of some bloke he just knifed.
That's
fine. That's honour.
Come out of the top of a tree and knife through.
But yeah, I don't have a lot of other likes because to me the movie's 50% action.
Yeah.
Right.
It's probably 70%, I'd say.
The action scenes are fine, but then when you add the plot to it, that's where it loses points for me.
Yeah, fair enough.
What other likes have you got, mate? You've probably got a few tucked away.
I had a few. I enjoyed it. This is something we were talking about before. His interaction with the female informant. What is she? I don't know.
She's a guide.
She's a guide. Yeah. This got me thinking as I was watching. What are the qualifications for being in a relationship with Rambo? I was like, you've got to be emotionally available. I'm like, check. That's Rambo for sure. You've got to be communicative. You've got to be able to talk and understand grunts. You've got to be willing to accept knife play when he's trying to swindle with his stories. Like he's sitting there like digging out the bottom of the boat with a knife. Her eyeballs are like popping out of her head looking at that.
I don't know about you, mate, but I'm thinking, listen, it's not you, it's me. This isn't working out.
Yeah, that's right. And you've got to be self-confident. He is like so backwards in coming forwards with anything. And then I just say overall like he's not really in a position or a location to be picking anybody up, regardless of how ripped or how good his mullet is. He's not in a position to be picking up.
Yeah, but his mullet's actually a little disappointing for me. It's a bit all over the joint. Like it's kind of, it hasn't got sort of style.
Yeah.
It's just sort of all over the place.
This is in the lights. When he comes out of the mud, he's like killing people.
Yeah.
The very next scene, his hair is back to its full Pantene glory.
You forgot one that you missed a key element.
Go on.
Remember, when on a date, you've got to be able to catch your own food with your bare hands.
That's right.
Because Rambo is not going to a restaurant. He is catching and killing his own meals.
Definitely.
So if you're squeamish about killing an animal to feed yourself, you're not really in Rambo's sort of... He's not fighting your RSVP, I can tell you.
Yeah, that relationship is a weird twist to it. And just her, all in all, like, she's like, do you want to marry me and to take me back to America? And he's like, actually, we could have a good life there. Let's do it. And then all of a sudden she just gets killed. And then he just goes on the biggest tear of the movie. It's hilarious. Like, he didn't have enough motivation to try and get out of the jungle. They kill his girlfriend so that he can...
What would their life have been like in America? Him the wounded... extremely disturbed war veteran and her, the illegal immigrant, is in the country illegally.
They would have found a way. I don't
know. I can't see it being kind of romantic.
They'd open up a shooting range together. Or a gaming farm or something.
Yeah, I think a gaming farm's better. Rambo needs room to roam, mate.
He does. holding hands while they shoot some...
Yeah, Rambo's not sitting behind the counter at a gun range going, yeah, here's your weapon for the day. And you go, no, mate, he needs to be out on the plains. He needs 40 to 50 acres of sort of hunting ground that he can work in.
He needs some foraging space. If you're going to release him into society. But that was a light for me. I like they at least tried to give him a romantic interest. Added an extra level to him. Oh, definitely necessary. Definitely necessary.
Not necessary at all. What else you got?
Some of his ham with his quotes.
Oh yeah,
hilarious. I'm here. At least I know. When I'm here, at least I know where I stand. Like it's just.
I had these in the dislikes.
Oh, I loved it. I'm expendable. We'll talk about that one later, I'm sure. But, I loved that hammy stuff. I guess.
Look, First Blood. He was an unknown quantity. Like no one knew anything about the Rambo character. This was the first movie he was in. There was no quips.
Yep.
But by 85, blokes like Arnie had hit the scene with Commando.
Yeah.
So suddenly we've got this guy sort of not quipping, so to speak, but suddenly he's gone from a normal guy who's suddenly pushed too far to a guy sort of getting on the radio and going, I'm coming for you after being electrocuted for 10 minutes. Like, I can't even speak after that, surely. So it kind of, it's sort of, I guess it's a product of its time, so some would say, because, 85, big period in action films, the muscle-bound stars who was almost like superhuman.
Yeah.
This was what you were doing. So Rambo went from normal guy to superhuman, and it was brought about by the period.
Yeah, I kind of liked. Do you know what? I kind of liked, and I found it a bit refreshing, I guess, considering where we're at the moment, that the main action star is like a ripped midget. Stallone's just a little fella, but I like that he was sort of human. You sort of see how small he is in those end scenes when he's gone back to the base. Yeah. He's actually not a very big human being, but
I mean, he's not tall.
Yeah,
he's not hugely muscular. Not like
The Rock or something.
Like The Rock. That. I mean, The Rock is tall. The Rock is taller. But I guess what I mean is you put Arnie and Slice side by side, there's no comparison between their size. Arnie would just be all over him in terms of muscle mass, weight, height, everything. So Sly's more your everyday guy size who then jacks up.
Yeah,
jacks up like he does because he's ripped.
He's ripped, yeah. It's which is kind of cool. I kind of like that. I find that like now it's a bit over the top. There, everyone's massive.
Yeah,
and I think it kind of works that he's just like a normal person ish. What were the other likes? I had when he's playing possum in the helicopter. He's sitting in that helicopter. He's just been shot down. The blades are still going.
Oh yeah, and then
he's like playing dead.
And then he suddenly
until the guy can see him, and then he pulls the bazooka out and shoots him.
Magic.
It's so ridiculous that how come he's not just getting shot down earlier than that? But it is so ridiculous that it's hilarious.
I would find it. You would think that the Russian guy would just strafe the shit out of it while I was on the ground. He wouldn't even bother to check.
Yeah, I'm not checking. I'm just putting a bomb through them.
Yeah.
That helicopter chase sequence is always going to be difficult to pull off because it's not the most manoeuvrable machine.
Yeah. But actually, I think that works out quite well.
The whole helicopter was playing possum though, because as soon as that's happened, it gets up and flies away.
That's right.
There's a bit of smoke coming out of it. He's not worried about that. We've got to get these guys home though.
I love the fact that they also give us his bio at the start, just to let us know that he can fly a helicopter.
Yeah,
like his helicopter trade.
Yeah, that's right.
And of course, suddenly we've got
shadowed a bit of helicopter theft action. Yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. I loved it. There was a thrill me standard as well, and there was a nut shot in there.
Oh, was it? I missed the nut shot. How?
There's definitely a kick to the nuts at some point in there.
I mean, I managed to see someone getting their balls squeezed in The Exorcist. I didn't see anybody get kicked in the balls in a bog standard action flick. You know, where 85. I mean, everyone was probably getting kicked in the nuts. Okay, so you've covered your life.
I think that's pretty much
dislikes. Let's really hit it home.
Yeah.
I said before, taking Rambo from not normal guy, but guy who we felt for, and turning him into a superhero.
Yeah.
It didn't work. It did not work at all.
It's that whole Godfather syndrome where it escalates. With each, it has to be something bigger and better.
Yeah.
And it escalates to a point where, I guess, between the two movies, it goes from being something that's contained in one area and it's just a matter of survival to, we're going to all these different locations and definitely the explosions.
More explosions, more gunfights, more action. Like that's action just
crammed in.
Because it's only 90 minutes.
Yeah,
it's
that's
pretty short.
Which they cram a lot into there.
Yeah, and I just feel that it didn't work for him because Rambo had the perfect... And I'm disappointed in Sly for this because Sly understood that with First Blood.
Yeah.
Like, he understood that this was a character we could root for, like Rocky.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he nailed it.
We could root for him because the police department turned on him.
They weren't treating him fairly.
For no reason. And forced him to take matters into his own hands, and those matters were quite...
In that first one, it's almost like they just don't understand that he's got this training, and they're just treating him like a vagrant. And it just backfires on them, and they can't get out of it because they've pushed themselves too far.
Whereas they should just let him go.
Yeah, just let him. Just take a breath, take a step back.
Look, he's gone. We're not going to see him again. Let's go.
But it's their pride that gets in the way. In this one, the thing that gets in the way is this weird conspiracy of we've just got this guy in here. They pulled him out of prison so that they can send him for this.
They pulled him off the bloody chain gang to take part in some stupid thing that this guy's cooked up
to tick a box.
And the other thing,
it's not as much fun. Well, not as much fun. But
the other thing I liked about the first one was when Troutman actually comes down to the camp and says, "This guy is the best. Like, if you keep pushing him, you're going to find yourselves in the real shit."
Yeah.
But then he starts trotting that shit out again in this movie. Yeah. It's like, we know, but you're talking to other people in the special forces about this. Like, Rambo's the best, I get that, but it doesn't translate because in the first movie he's talking to local coppers who thought this guy's some vagrant who's pissed us off and now we're going to go get him, and we're so deep in, suddenly this army guy turns up and says, oh, by the way, this guy's Green Beret, if you push him any further he's going to explode, and you're going to have all sorts of trouble. It made sense, whereas it doesn't make sense here because you've got mercenaries, you've got other Green Berets, you've got all sorts of characters involved.
That's right, and the people that he's fighting are pretty well trained in the terrain and everything. Yeah,
you've got the Vietnamese soldiers, you've got the Russian soldiers, so you got all these top class military and personnel and stuff, and yet we're still trotting out. Oh, you're going to need another supply of body bags or whatever the hell he starts dribbling on about. It's like this is so silly. Like it's so not what we got in the first movie. And maybe that's why I don't like this movie much, is because it goes so far away from what the first one was. James Cameron, you bastard! I mean, Cameron's come out and said it, the action stuff was all his, but the rest of it...
Nothing to do with it. That's where it falls apart, to be honest. The conversations are ridiculous, every single one of them.
Because Rambo's got no personality. He just grunts the whole time. So you can't have a conversation of depth. Yeah. They managed to do it in the first one because Troutman and Teasel, those guys, they did the heavy lifting. They did all that, and Rambo only starts talking in the last sequence when he's in the gun shop. And that's where we get a sense of him.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it's a bit more desperate as well.
They try and do that in this movie too. They try and sort of have him have this, big monologue at the end, but it's just crap. It is. It's rubbish.
I find one of my dislikes. He just walks into the room with all the communication equipment and just shoots everything. Then he goes in and gets the guy who's abandoned him and he said, "I'm coming for you," and just stabs the table. Like, surely he's at a point where he's just like, he's had enough of what's going on. How come he has the self-control to pull back at that point?
And it doesn't give you any reason why he would do that.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, they tried to kill the guy.
Yeah, that legitimately did.
Okay. Dialogue, absolutely horrendous. It is hilarious. Such crap as Troutman says to him, "Forget the war, remember the mission." What? And then he goes, he talks about all the weapons and tactics. We've got all the latest weapons, and Rambo goes, "The mind is the greatest weapon." I'm just like, mate, come on, like this is not. This is it sounds kind of like fortune cookies almost, you know.
Yeah. They do speak in cliches a fair bit, don't they?
Yeah. Like it just feels like every time Rambo speaks, it's kind of like this meant to be sort of like an important line or something like that. Like it's kind of like meant to be something you'll remember.
Yeah.
But none of them hit. And he talks about it being expendable.
Yeah.
And he says to the girl. She goes, what's expendable?
Explain it to me.
He goes,
explain it to me, master.
He goes, expendable is when you're invited to a party and you don't turn up and then no one cares. And I was just sitting there thinking, there are easier ways to explain that, John.
Metaphor for the veteran experience, so he wouldn't understand.
Couldn't you just say, they don't expect us to come back. Like, they're going to leave us here.
He does the most convoluted
it's like, where did you get that? Why did you have that in there?
Yeah.
And his final speech, it is just so hollow. I want what everyone wants, to be able to live in freedom or something. I can't even remember it. It's that bad.
Didn't an eagle fly off in the background?
There was an American flag. Because I think that the problem with this is it's kind of, I don't know, maybe a metaphor for Vietnam and all that sort of stuff. Maybe they're trying to go down that route.
Yeah.
But it's so ham-fisted. It just feels like Stallone kind of went overboard.
Yep.
Perhaps instead of going, look, it's 85, people are into mindless popcorn films, right?
Yeah.
Rambo's back.
You could have made it.
He's bigger than it, better. He's just going to go off.
You could have made it a lot more simple. There's somebody who needs to go in and get. I'm happy to watch that.
Yeah.
I'll watch that for an hour and a half.
Yeah, we're sending you back in.
Yeah.
We know they're POWs. No double cross.
Yeah.
They're POWs in a camp.
They
need you to get them out.
They create these stupid villains that you don't necessarily need.
The Russians. The Russians are selling weaponry to the Vietnamese, and that feels like a kind of a statement.
Yeah, it's a bit forced, isn't it?
And it's like, why have we got that? Like, there's no need for that. No. And I agree with you. He's being sent back in. Rambo's being sent back in to do what he does best.
Yeah, that's right.
He's been let out of prison.
The explanation for sending him in is he knows the terrain better than anybody else. I'm like, surely somebody else knows how to get through the forest. Like, and then when he gets there, they give him a guide. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. The Special Forces has more than one person in it. And they're all very well trained, I would assume.
I'm pretty sure that when he was there in his first tour, that this wasn't the lone section of forest that he was fighting in, that he knows really well.
I love this sequence. It's in the dislikes just because it's so stupid, but I love it. I laugh so hard. It says, we just need you to go in, take some photos, and get out. Don't engage the enemy. Then we get a shot, a montage of him gearing up.
Yeah.
And he's all sweaty and shit, and he's all oiled up. He takes an entire arsenal. You were told to just take photos. He's got more weapons than he can focus.
Don't engage.
And I guarantee you, he did not pack the camera. He just geared up with weaponry.
I didn't see him that once.
He's gone on the plane, gone on the helicopter, and then I bet you when he landed in the desert, in the forest, he went, "Oh shit! I forgot
the camera."
Oh, it's so stupid.
Oh, he keeps it all locked in his memory.
It coincides with the cheapest looking shots of the film. And when he's hung up on the side of the helicopter, and he has to cut loose all his equipment.
Yes.
It is.
Why did they bother with that?
I know. It was just to say that he no longer had any of his guns in it. He just had the knife and the bow.
Yeah.
It just looks really bad. Like it's obvious.
It set up that device as well of, we're not going to go back for him because there's no way he's going to make it back anyway.
Yeah, he's already dead.
Yeah.
But then that doesn't make any sense either because they were going to leave him. So they flew over and then they left him.
I still don't understand. This was the other thing I didn't quite get is why Troutman is even there. Why is he there? Like, there's absolutely no purpose for him being there. It's like he's the
Well, Troutman's only role is to get Rambo out of prison.
Yeah, he gets him and he convinces him pretty easily. Do you want to get out of prison? Yep. And then after that, he should just be going off and doing whatever the hell he was doing before that. I don't understand why they need to send him to Vietnam so he can send these ominous messages to them of, he's going to come and get you. He's going to get you.
I think, Matty, and I think, there was a throwaway line, I think it explains why Troutman's there, but it's bullshit. It's total bullshit. But it goes, once you find the POWs,
I have to take you back in, is it?
We send in a team led by Troutman.
Yeah.
Which
still doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, which why would you send Troutman in?
Yeah, that's right.
He's like 60.
Isn't he retired?
I don't think he was retired, but there seemed to be no point in sending Troutman in on this mission.
Yep.
And secondly, why not just send the team in if they find some POWs? They take them out. They get
Isn't
them
the whole place meant to be abandoned anyway? Isn't that one of the conversations that they have?
Yeah.
So why?
But I think, were they trying to kill Rambo?
I don't think that was the point. I think he was collateral damage in the whole thing. But he's indestructible, so it's just bad luck. They chose the wrong indestructible Green Beret to throw in there.
Look, this is the plan as I believe it. This is what Marshall, the guy, has cooked up. This is what I believe it was.
Yeah.
Rambo, who's a decorated veteran.
Yep.
No matter that he's in prison. Yep. He's a decorated veteran.
Yeah.
Goes in, doesn't find anything, doesn't find any POWs. They tell Congress. Congress buys it.
Yeah.
The whole thing, case closed.
Yep.
No more POWs in Vietnam.
Yeah.
That is fucking ridiculous. It is. It's so stupid. Like, just tell Congress, pay a decorated vet a couple of grand to tell Congress, I went over there, I took some photos, There was nobody.
Couldn't find him.
End of story.
Yeah, that's it.
No, we'll actually do it. We'll send this guy over. So were they trying to kill Rambo? Was that...
I don't understand why. He's already in prison. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense at all.
Did I miss something? Did I miss something? I mean, I was clinging to...
Or it's just ridiculous.
But yeah, it doesn't... The whole reason for doing this seems stupid. Like, why is it actually... There's not a legitimate reason why he's actually over there.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have just left the guy rotting in prison.
Well, I guess the reason is that he's got to kill some motherfuckers.
Yeah, he's got to get off. We need a sequel. That's basically it.
There's 300 million reasons why.
Yes.
I'm thinking too hard about it.
No, you're spot on.
Yeah.
But I don't think the time and the effort was put in.
Yeah.
Because that's a really convoluted and
that left
ridiculous
me at the end.
sort of way of doing things.
It's one of those things that left me at the end going, if I never see this again, that's okay. That's all right.
Well, I haven't watched it since I saw it the first time, which would have been in probably the late 80s or early 90s.
Yeah.
So I'd only ever seen it once before I watched it for this.
Yeah.
And it hasn't aged well for me, but I don't even remember liking it greatly back then. The woman playing his love interest.
Yep.
I don't know where what casting call she was on, but
she was a good-looking girl, eh?
She was, but she wasn't. She was not a good actress. That was the problem. I mean, look, she didn't really have much to work with.
Yeah.
The character's paper thin. Not much really happens.
Yeah.
The only sort of, I guess, courting I saw was when she shoots a bloke through the. She's underneath the hut.
Yep.
And to help Rambo when he's after being electrocuted 1,000 times, she helps him. One of the guys is going to hit him, and she shoots him. That's the only piece of sort of foreplay or flirting I sort of saw between them. But
I swear he swooned and
he kind of went, oh yes. this.
He moved the bow and arrow in front of his crotch just to cover up after he saw that.
And that whole romance, even though you have succinctly talked about how Rambo gets a date, which I thought was rather funny, there's no necessity for it.
Yeah.
There's no necessity because, as you correctly pointed out,
entertaining though.
especially when she just gets nailed 5 seconds after they've made out, she walks out of the clearing and gets blown to pieces.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh. But as you correctly pointed out, Matty, why does he need a guide?
Yeah.
He knows the terrain, according to Troutman.
Yeah. She's got to show him where she's got to show him that they meet in a temple, don't they? Meet in like a.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Maybe she knew where the POW camp was, and that was the only reason she was involved.
Yeah.
So to me, there was no need for any of that. But I guess Rambo would have nobody to talk to.
He can't use a map.
A compass.
He's got some skills.
He would have no one to talk to though.
Yeah.
So the movie his dialogue would dry up even further. It was dried up as it was, but he would have had nothing to talk about.
My favourite bit of dialogue though, or favourite bit of text in it, is when he's in the helicopter shooting people and he just goes and then just starts shooting the shit out of everything in his way. That is gold. I was slapping my thigh enjoying that one. That was cool.
Yeah, he does a lot of when he's running away from something, he's always sort of grunting. It's like
creaky door. That's what he sounds like. It's hilarious.
Now, you mentioned the snake choking sequence.
Yeah.
Why was that in there?
Just to show that
just to show how quick he was.
I think it's just to show that he's home. He's like but he tosses the snake away like it's a snake or whatever.
I thought he was gonna it was gonna come back. He was gonna use it in a trap. Like he was gonna use the snake in a trap.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah, Deb style. Hard target.
I could use this later.
No. It just he just chokes the snake out and then goes.
The thing is just to show how casual he was about
and how quick he is.
The stuff that would scare I'd be so jumpy if I was in that environment. Shit, is that a spider? What's brushing up against my leg? I feel like that was sort of showing that off.
Yeah. I'd be too scared to make eyes at the guy that came and got me. I'd be way too scared for that sort of stuff. The arrows. I love the arrow work.
Yeah.
But they sound like bullets. Whenever he fires them, they sort of go ring like this. They make this weird sound. I mean, I know it's probably...
I didn't even notice it.
Yeah, it's probably meant to be the sound of the arrow sort of vibrating in the air or whatever. It sounded like someone was firing bullets. So.
They make the biggest explosions ever.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love that. I love the fact that, he fires one arrow and it blows a car sky high, just blows it up. But... Yeah, I'm not really sure it was on the tip of those.
The Koreans gave up on nuclear testing after they got a hold of those arrows.
That's real Rambo. Rambo's doing his own version of nuclear testing. My final dislike. What in the name of God was that song over the credits?
America.
Peace in Our Life by Frank Stallone. It was Jobs for the Boys. I tell you, it's definitely on Volume 2 Thrill Me podcast mixtape because it is just magic. Like, it is just so bad. Yeah. Like, initially I thought maybe Sylvester Stallone was singing. Turned out to be Frank Stallone, so not much different.
I knew it was bad. I didn't realise it was that much.
I actually let the credits roll for a bit.
I watched it. I listened.
Am I hearing what I think I'm hearing?
That's if you were already put off by the political conversation that this movie was putting forward, then I don't think that song would have helped at all.
Good God. I'm going to get a little bit harsh on Sly.
Oh, here we go.
Right? I love Sly.
Don't do that.
Mate, I love Sly. I love him. The guy has got a great body of work. He's got some shit in there, no doubt. But he's got a great body of work. He's always made films that I've enjoyed. And he's a talented dude. You know, he's director, producer, actor, writer,
Yep.
Rocky, is a really well-written film.
Yep.
The problem with Stallone here, this was right in the crux of his... I don't know what he was doing back at this period, because this was Rocky IV, was around the same time.
Okay.
So he's punching out communism in Rocky IV.
Yep.
And then this is kind of like, we're winning the war in Vietnam.
Yep.
There was too much Stallone in the both on screen and behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Nobody told Sylvester, because these were making a lot of money, this is shit, mate. Like, nobody's... Like, this is shit. This movie sounds ridiculous.
You can't argue, though, with the amount of money that they made off.
That's it. It's all about box office.
Yeah, that's
so this movie's follies are wiped away by $300 million in the bank.
Yeah.
And that's all the studio would have cared about. This is going to make money.
Yeah.
And same with Rocky IV. It made a shitload of money. So I can understand that, but I also think Sly's a better writer than this.
Yeah. That Rocky 1 shows that.
Yeah. About Rocky Balboa, like he co-wrote First Blood.
Yeah.
The guy knows how to bring these concepts in, these political concepts and stuff. He does know when given the right material, he can do it. He can actually get it in there well.
Poor old Rocky hasn't got... He's not a character that's really going to give you any verbal depth.
No, he's not.
And they came into the second one knowing in the first one he's a troubled vet that just doesn't fit in. And I guess they put him in an environment he's comfortable in, but the dialogue doesn't get any better.
No. And in fact, the biggest problem that this film's probably got is that, as I said in the first one, you had Brian Dennehy and you had Troutman being important characters who push the story along, and they really do the lifting, while Rambo's not on screen and he's not talking much.
Scrambling up cliffs and
he's doing the physical traps, while those other two guys are giving you the explanation of what's going on. They're throwing out all the exposition. They're getting all that out, and they're both really good actors.
Yep.
That
can keep
it works.
Going.
This one doesn't have that. It's got like 4 different...
The supporting cast are just rubbish. They're just
got all
they're
these
nodding
villains.
and they're like, yeah, all right. And they're just not doing anything.
Well, you mentioned villains. You had the Vietnamese...
The guy on the boat at the beginning that double crosses.
Yep.
There's
the 2 guys in the helicopter.
The guy in the POW camp. You've got the helicopter dudes. One of them at the end, the moustache that just sort of scampers off at the end.
Yeah. You've got the Russians.
You're right.
You've got the Vietnamese soldiers. You've got Marshall back on base.
Yeah. So there's so many villains, and he sort of like picks them off one by one over a period of about 15 minutes. And it's just so quick.
And none of those villains give you... Like, they don't fill the gap.
Yeah.
That...
There's no depth to any of them.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of like...
I mean, you got the guy out of Karate Kid. You got the guy who Cobra Kai. He's in there, and he's in maybe 3 scenes, and he barely does anything, and he just gets punched in the face, I think, at the end.
He's useless.
You got the mustachioed guy who sort of says, holds a gun to Troutman and says, don't do anything, we're not picking him up.
Yeah.
The main bad guy is kind of supposed to be Marshall.
And they don't even really deal
double
with them.
cross.
They don't even deal with them. He shows his physical prowess in getting back and then going over the top of him with the knife.
Yeah.
But there's no real retribution for what they've done.
No.
Other than punch in the face or whatever.
And none of them really...
It's not equal to the potential of what he can do.
None of them sort of move the needle like the sheriff did in the first movie.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and you hated the sheriff.
Yeah, that's right.
And you hated him from the start.
And he just had so much ego that he was willing to send in these people that he's just being told they're just going to end up in body bags.
Yeah.
And it's not...
Yeah.
It's not... Yeah.
Whereas this one doesn't fit that because the villains, there's too many of them and none of them are memorable.
Have any chop, yeah.
And so all we get is... we were excited when Rambo's sort of cutting a swath.
Yeah.
But
you can forget about it when he's destroying shit with his bow and arrow. Other than that,
but his bars. So look. I'm not going to lie.
They bog it down with too much text for longer than 2 minutes.
I'm probably a hypocrite. A couple of episodes ago, I said wrong bet was 3.5 stars, right? And it's got no plot at all. But as I explained, I just feel that this is trying to convey a message.
Yeah.
About sort of the war in Vietnam, but it doesn't.
It just has a few throwaway lines and doesn't really deal with it.
Yeah, it doesn't really deal with it, and no matter what they're trying to do, it doesn't deal with it well. So, now, do you have any other dislikes, Matty?
No, not really. I can't think of any right now. The Murdoch also. He was from... I got a bit excited when I realised he was from the Good Old Boys in Blues Brothers.
Oh, was he?
Same guy, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he just played an absolute clown in that.
Yeah.
So I was sort of getting a bit confused between the faces.
Yes.
While I was watching that. But, nothing really. I think we nailed it. The lack of plot was a bit painful, but you're not really watching it for that. So
no.
It was good.
And look, on its simple base merits... of just let's blow everything up, you'd probably get enough out of it to satisfy you.
Yeah.
But for me, it just really put a nasty taste in my mouth after the original.
Yeah, fair.
Which is a bona fide great action film.
I watched them pretty much back to back, so I was a bit more apparent when I was watching the second one.
Yeah, well, because the problems would have been much more jarring seeing them directly after each other. Thankfully, I didn't watch the first one before it. I didn't want to feel unclean and go and have a shower or something. All right, well, that is Rambo, First Blood Part 2. If you want to get in contact with us, send us an email at thrillme@iinet.net.au. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia and at Podomatic at thrillme.podomatic.com. Make sure you rate and review us on iTunes and Podomatic. Our next episode, keep an eye on the Facebook. We'll work out what that will be once Jared and Gibbo return. But until then, take it easy and we'll catch up with everyone later. Cheers. Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at iinet.net.au.